Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined this Turkey week by Don Pizzette. Don, how you doing?
I am doing great. I'm feeling the holiday spirit. You know, it's a hard time this time of year. Like you so want to skip forward to Christmas. It's right there around the corner, but I haven't forgotten about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, respect that holiday.
Yep. You know, just like our friends over the seas who totally ignore Thanksgiving every year.
Sure. Daniel, how you doing?
You got me, Don. You got me good. I want to give a special shout out to our viewers out there. Thank you for the Thanksgiving movie reference for the collection Son-in-Law. Somebody recommended Son-in-Law. It was a great addition because I'd forgotten all about that movie.
Was that the one that came up on YouTube?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Is that the one with Pauly Shore?
Yep, with Pauly Shore.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Very entertaining flick, though.
What do you think Pauly Shore's best film is? Biodome or Encino Man?
Well,
I mean, as far as like
Smash
critical
Man.
acclaim, it would have to be Encino Man, right? Like all the other ones.
I don't know, man. I liked In the Army Now. I thought that was pretty
yeah.
good.
Is he like the Ernest of our time? Like,
Or was that
a
Rob
little
Schneider?
best.
I think he was active at the same time as Ernest, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
So
true.
it's the same kind of movies as like, well, how about we just have Pauly Shore in the army or like in jail or
Rob Schneider is Pauly Shore.
yeah, wait, I'm confused. Yeah. They're different people?
That would be real Inception level right
yeah, it
there.
would be. Yeah.
All right. Well, they're even though, you know, the focus in the media is on the holidays and turkeys being pardoned and things like that, there was still some technology news that happened because, you know, most hackers don't respect the holidays. So there's some security news. Then we also have some product releases and things. So let's go ahead and jump right in with our first one, which is from MSN.com. So fittingly, it's about Microsoft stuff.
Who also doesn't care about
Microsoft does not care about the holidays. Microsoft Teams is putting sign language front and center, and I had to think about this for a while because I was like, they have a smart captions feature,
Yes.
right? So I seems a little bit redundant, but I guess you'd rather maybe see someone talking than than read it. Maybe that's what you're more comfortable with.
So I think down the road, smart captioning is going to be the way to go, right? So that'll replace the need for this. But as it stands today, a live person doing sign is more accurate than the smart transcription that the AI system does, right? So if you have a real human being doing sign language alongside the person who's speaking, it's just going to be more accurate.
But this is not Microsoft providing someone doing sign language for each meeting you have. This is more about the ability to highlight two windows, is it?
So when I saw the headline, I actually
That's what you thought?
Microsoft
has hired all these sign-speaking people.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I thought, man, that's phenomenal. Like they could hire tons of people. This would really encourage people to learn ASL or sign
they
language.
got
of some
the
form.
money. They
They,
could afford
certainly
it.
But
do.
could you imagine that job of your job is all day just to be on other people's Zoom meetings?
Man, I feel like that's
terrible.
like
Yeah.
because you're so kind of active, 'cause you're moving your arms and your
Yeah,
hands
that's
and
true.
whatnot. Like that'd be a great way to burn some calories. Learn ASL and become a sign person. For
You know how they
Microsoft.
say like dentists, and I don't know if this is true or not. It was in Whole Nine Yards, the movie where they said like dentists are more likely to commit suicide than any other career. I feel like if Zoom meeting signers became like a big thing, that would probably be the next. Like,
And there's like it happens during meetings too. That's just- like, oh, I've got to raise my hand there.
Yeah.
It happened again.
Yeah.
what's your job? Well, I'm in Zoom meetings
Yeah.
all day, every day.
What's he doing with that chair?
So I thought that Microsoft was going to be providing signers, which honestly would be a phenomenal service, and I'd love to see. However, that's not what's being done here. Instead, it's exactly what you said, Peter. They're
Yeah.
really just giving you the ability to pin two windows with the focus. So right now, when you go into a Teams meeting, everybody lays out like Brady Bunch style on your screen. Everybody's in a little square. And if somebody is the main speaker, you can set it into that view, the speaker view. So the speaker is a little bit bigger or more prominent. And if they share their desktop goes full screen. And then all the pictures go a little tiny off onto the right side. Well, if somebody's doing signing, they're not saying anything out loud, and so they never get the priority, and they never show up in a big window. So they either get minimized to a small window, or even worse, just clipped off the screen entirely.
Or you have to pin them, and then you're pinning them for everyone.
And
I believe.
You can pin just for yourself, but you can only pin one window. So you could pin the signer, and now you can't see the
Screen.
amazing PowerPoint slide.
I feel like this is just window dressing for managers to be able to go, I got to keep an eye on Billy. You know, he doesn't really pay attention to these things. So whenever the speaker's going, I want to watch him.
Yeah.
Because
If
he's
he
probably,
nods
yeah,
off.
he is on his computer. That's not this computer. He's playing a game, isn't he?
All right, so I debated how to cover this article because there's here's Don's technology take, how I could use this, and then there's the total creeper take on
Right.
this. So let's do
And
the
they're
technology one first.
And
They are
they're
different.
yeah.
I have been in a number of meetings where I want to see the person who's talking, but I also want to see their shared desktop, and I want them to be basically the same size because it's a human being. I want them to be, you know, on the focus. So if I can pin two windows, then this does it, or pin two videos. So I can have it where the desktop and the person are the same size. It gives a little more control, so that's good. Now the creeper side is you could be watching the presenter and then pick the random person that you want to cyberstalk and have them in the second
watch
window.
them.
Yeah, so I don't know how this is going to be controlled. It's all rolling out in December, so we'll find out in January as this goes teams wide.
I do like to watch Daniel breathe. Just, it's just fun. There it is. Yeah, ASMR for all of you out there enjoying that. Did you know that sign language was my foreign language in high school?
Was it really?
Was it?
And yeah, so if you want me to do
Is it
this
a
on
foreign
meeting-
language? It's American Sign Language.
Well, it counted as my foreign language
Yeah.
credit, I should say.
When I was in college, I had to do 10 credit hours of a foreign language, and I saw where sign language was an option. I wanted to learn it.
yeah, it is cool.
But they only had 8 credit hours, so it wasn't enough.
Ah.
And so I did Spanish instead.
Yeah,
Should've done
I was
both.
able to comp out of it because I learned it in high school, so that I was able to count. But I lived in the same town where the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind is, so
Yeah.
there's actually a big population that does sign there.
I want to learn
Spanish.
Spanish Sign Language.
Well,
Is there a Spanish
I
sign
don't
language? Oh.
All right, well, we call it American Sign Language. So that, is
Yeah,
there
what
another
other
country
signs
sign
is
language?
there?
Do they
I'm sure
have
there are.
different sign languages?
Oh, actually, I do know that there's Australian Sign Language because
It's different?
there's a complaint because it's also abbreviated ASL.
ASL, that's
yeah,
right,
so yeah, that's the only one I know for sure.
I'll be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, it'll be cool to see this one come out soon, and whether you're using it for this intended purpose or for
Cyber
other
stalking?
purposes or cyber stalking. Good on you, and enjoy that. While you
Peter's
have
sitting
your
there
time.
acting like he's not absolutely doing that.
I said I watch you breathe. I watch you sleep, Daniel.
It's like, oh, is that who was in my room last night?
Not with
Ah,
Teams
gotcha.
though. That's with me.
That's just
Or
binoculars.
the FOSS cam
Yeah.
that I set up
Yeah,
in your.
Here, Daniel, here's a FOSS cam to hack.
All right, let's take a look at our next one here from MacRumors.com. VMware Fusion 13 now available with native support for Apple Silicon Macs. So did that mean that if you had one of the new M1 chips or any of the future ones, M series, that you didn't have any VMware options, or what do they mean when they say native support?
All right, so when Apple rolled out the M1 Macs, that was a big deal. It really messed with virtualization. And so day one, you had no virtualization options. Well, over time, Parallels rolled out an updated version of their software, so Parallels Desktop, that would allow you to do virtualization. And for people like me, I'm on a Mac right now, I had to go out and buy Parallels, even though I'm typically a VMware Fusion user. Well, fast forward to today, almost 2 years since the M1 came out. It has been a while. VMware finally released their version of VMware Fusion, version 13, that supports the M1 and M2 Silicon Macs. Now, the thing that held them up was performance. There's actually 2 things that held it up, right? So they had performance issues as far as getting it to run at bare metal speeds. The second thing is, a while back, VMware actually gutted the development team that supports VMware Fusion and then completely outsourced it to developers outside of VMware. And so they have suffered pretty greatly. VMware Workstation, VMware Fusion, all of their desktop virtualization products have really gotten behind. It's just not a moneymaker for them. So you can really see that here where it's taken them, they're a year behind their competition for getting out there. And now you got people like me where I've used VMware Fusion for years and years and years. And I am really not motivated to buy 13 because it doesn't bring any features that I don't now have through Parallels, which I had to buy.
Yeah, I was going to
8
say,
months
by
ago.
switching to Parallels, are you happy there now?
I am. I'm not the biggest fan of Parallels because of some of their business practices, but the technology works. So
It's we kind of bounce around just playing with technology. We end up like trying most things that are in the same space to see which one's right for how we do stuff and what's best for our workflow and things like that. I've done VirtualBox. I've done, you name it. We kind of messed around with it. Fusion has been great. It's kind of really does kind of follow that Apple mentality of it just works.
Mhm.
At least that's it seems to be their modus operandi. It's very simple. It's very easy to use. It's nicely driven. But then when the M1s came out, it was like, oh, I got to stop using this. I've kind of switched. I've really had a lot of success with just setting it up because, I like the Mac for doing demonstrations, but I don't like Mac OS. And of course I lost VMware Fusion. So I'm like, how do I fix this? And I ended up going with just remote desktop capabilities. The remote desktop client for Mac is really good. Like it does a really good job. It's very seamless. It looks just like a VM. So all I need is a really cheap server running all my virtualization for x86 and 64 over here, and then remote desktop into it on a good network connectivity. It looks like you're driving that thing bare metal. It's really nice.
I'm glad you mentioned x86 and x64. It's important to note here, VMware Fusion 13 will not emulate
It's still not
x86 or AMD 64. So that means any operating system you run has to be an ARM-based kernel in order to run it. So most Linux distributions have released versions that are compiled for the ARM processor. Windows 11 has an ARM version.
Doesn't Windows 11 ARM version have some sort of like x32/64 emulation?
It does, but
Have you played with it?
It's a software emulation, so it performs like a Type 2 hypervisor. Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not something you'd use for production in any way.
Right.
But where this caused some problems for me is if you want to run older operating systems, if you want to run Windows 7, Windows 10, any of the Windows Server versions, they don't have ARM versions. So you cannot run them. And even on Linux, like CentOS 7, where they have an ARM version of it, it doesn't have some of the memory flags that macOS requires, and so it can't run. So even though it's an ARM kernel, it can't run. So compatibility is not great. If you want to run the latest Mac OS in a VM, or you want to run Windows 11 in a VM, newer version of Ubuntu, I think it's 22.10 and newer are the ones that were correct.
What about like WSL? Like if you have Windows 11 ARM, can you do WSL and still get like an Ubuntu or whatever? Like how
are you talking about nested virtualization?
I guess like however does WSL in Windows 11 work like it does in regular like versions of Windows?
When you're running Windows 11 on bare metal, yes.
Yes, but not in virtualization.
Right.
Because it is virtualization.
It would be nested at that point, and your performance would be crap.
Fun.
Talk about virtualization within virtualization.
It's virtualization within virtualization.
Inception.
Yeah, is that when you have a little top
It's
and you
the,
spin it and find out.
Marikoshka, whatever, the Russian dolls.
Yeah,
What's that? Matryoshka?
sure.
Oh, Matryoshka?
Yeah, Matryoshka, whatever
Something
it
like
is,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Matilda?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what it
My
almost
Russian's
sounded
a little
like.
rusty.
Yeah. When you said you would have a server set up and then you would remote into that, but then you would emulate x64 on that. Like,
Right.
that sounds like
It just
too many
it starts getting. Remember that movie Multiplicity?
Yeah.
It was like when you make a copy of a copy, starts getting a little weird.
right there.
Yeah.
I don't think our current generation would get that joke, right?
Yeah,
you
'cause they don't make
copy-
copies.
Copy an MP3 all you want, and it's fine.
Works like a charm.
Yeah, like I mean, just save a copy of this PDF as a
Yeah.
different file name. That doesn't do
It's
it.
going to look worse than the original. I don't get it.
Oh,
Doesn't make any sense.
Kids nowadays.
It is a Matryoshka.
I was getting it right. Yeah. Okay.
I think saying Russian nesting doll was
Right.
fine.
Yes, Russian nesting doll.
But that probably is like exactly what that means in Russian. I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
It means Russian nesting doll.
Yes.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I saw this next article that Don posted, and I said, well, this is obviously Deja News, or Don accidentally added this news article in from last
Again.
week, this week. But this one's from Pharonics.com. Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.1 released, AlmaLinux 9.1 out as well. And the reason I say that is because last week we covered Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.7 arrived. So are we just scrapping that and just moving to the next one, or what's the difference here?
All right, two things. So that the first thing, that wasn't really my point of picking this one. I'll get to my point here in just a minute. But with RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, they support more than one version at any given time, because when theirs come out, they have a 5-year wide release support cycle, and then another 5 years on top of that they do for security updates. And so at any given time, Red Hat is supporting 3 versions of their OS. So right now they still support RHEL 7, RHEL 8, and RHEL 9. Well, all 3. So RHEL 8.7 did release last week. RHEL 9.1 is releasing this week. If you've not moved over to 9 yet, if you're still on 8, right, well, you just upgrade to 8.7 and stay there. You're not being rushed to get off. You got plenty of time, but 9 would be considered the kind of newer cutting edge. Right?
So there were developers that were still hung over from the release party last week that got to, they're like, we have another one? Oh, man.
Party time. But what I wanted to highlight was actually the other part of the article, which mentioned how not only did RHEL 9.1 come out, but AlmaLinux 9.1 came out the same day. Now, you might remember, I think it was back in January, we did a webinar where we were talking about, hey, if you had CentOS and you're mad at Red Hat because they kind of did a rug pull on it and swapped it, now it's CentOS Stream, and you don't trust it, and you need a free open source RHEL clone, who do you pick? And there were 2 main leaders back then. I
remember Rocky and Alma.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, you get a gold star. So,
Look it up.
Rocky Linux and AlmaLinux were the 2 big players. Now, Rocky Linux had a little bit better of a PR campaign because the person who created it was one of the co-creators of CentOS. So, obviously he's got the resume for doing that. AlmaLinux didn't, and a lot of people weren't sure which one to pick. Who do you back, right? Well, this week, I think we're getting kind of a bit of vision into that. And the comment I made back in, I'm pretty sure it was in January, was that I felt like AlmaLinux was going to be the one that took the lead because with Rocky Linux, you had this one person who was in charge of the organization. I can't remember his name, but
Rocky.
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know.
Oh, it might be.
I assume so.
But you just had this one person, and that's somewhat, against what we'd go for with open source solutions and all. You want many people involved. Versus AlmaLinux, where they immediately set up a committee or board or whatever to be able to run it and move it forward. And I felt like that would give AlmaLinux a bit of an edge on it.
Gregory Kurtzer, the CEO and creator of Rocky Linux.
Also known as Rocky.
Yeah. Is there any
He named
insight
it to honor Rocky McGaw?
Of course.
McGaw, one of the
As you
most
do.
important programmers involved with the development of CentOS.
Yeah.
So
Well,
he
there-
tried to do the same thing. He was like, well, I'll just honor someone that worked on CentOS. Meanwhile, the other guy worked on CentOS.
Well,
We got to get the production crew to get one of those "the more you know" graphics for us
For our random
Yeah,
facts.
for
Like,
when we do
For
random
example,
facts.
Don has the translation of that Russian word.
oh,
I saw it.
turns out it's a name, so
It's the same word,
Matryoshka, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Doesn't help anything.
So-
Oh, good.
So what I wanted to bring up here, though, was that I felt like AlmaLinux was going to get an edge because of that kind of board that was running it. They had more people involved, and so that's a good thing. Well, here you can see the fruits of that labor. RHEL 9.1 was released. That very evening, AlmaLinux 9.1 was released. So that's the lead time in between one and the other.
So that doesn't mean they're working together. I mean, that's what I assumed that, they
So they're just stealing
let
code.
them in on,
they're independent.
just
but
stealing code.
they didn't it's not a partnership where they said, hey, we're going to be putting this out, be ready. And
Nope. I mean, I'm sure the AlmaLinux team had an idea it was coming,
Yeah.
but so did the Rocky
malware
team.
C2 agent. Let them know.
Oh, yeah. Like,
It's
no,
all
we've had
exfiltrated the code. Yeah.
We've had the code for some time.
We used to see this with CentOS, where a new version of RHEL would come out, and there could be a lead time, sometimes as much as 6 months before CentOS would catch up.
Yeah.
AlmaLinux is like under 24 hours. So it's really, really significant. And I didn't grab the article, but there was a big announcement out of the Rocky Linux group same day that they were forming a board to be able to govern, like an open source community to govern the system. So they're actually pivoting to that model of AlmaLinux. But at least as it looks right now, I think that's a big head start for AlmaLinux. It looks like we may have a winner in that one.
All right.
Well, congratulations, Alma.
Yeah, congrats.
You're due.
I was going to suggest they should use the Beatles song "All My Loving" as their theme song. Do like a
Yeah.
AlmaLinux.
That's
I
good.
will send to you.
That was a bit of a stretch.
Oh, I like that.
You might
got
wanna
something
workshop
better?
that one a little more.
I mean, I know
Listen, I don't stick up for Peter often.
that's a lot to license.
I'm going to give him credit on this one.
I think
that's a lot to license.
Oh, I keep saying committee and board. It's a foundation. There we
Ah.
go. RHEL Linux Foundation. AlmaLinux already had a foundation.
What's the difference?
The name?
The name.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Just making sure.
Different words. That's all. All right. Well, you asked about this earlier, Daniel. So maybe this will.
Oh, you're going to
help
talk about that on
answer-
the... Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
no. Yeah. No, you got to see your doctor.
Go
about that
ahead.
one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talk to the doctor. This one is from news.itsfoss.com. Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL, has reached version 1.0 stable release. Congratulations. I feel like it's been out for a while. We're only at version 1 here, so good for them.
And trust me, we know it was unstable.
So I thought about flagging this one with the "Don't make no sense" banner because it doesn't make any sense. It's very, very confusing of what's going on over at WSL, which is a shame because it's a great product. It's really, really effective, but
It's how I get stuff done on Windows.
yes, absolutely true. On my home computer, so I run Windows 11 on my home computer, and I spend quite a bit of time in my WSL terminal.
Yeah, because it does things.
Yeah, it does a lot of
nicely.
things.
But apparently, it's stable enough.
It's stable enough for my
fine
SSH
for
connections.
me.
But now it's stabler.
Now, where this one gets confusing is, all right, so it's reached version 1.0 stable release. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that WSL is now available in the Microsoft App Store that nobody uses, but it is there. So like,
Unless you need to download WSL.
Available in your Zune.
Yeah.
so any person on the planet on a Windows machine can now easily go into the store and click to add WSL and have it. So that's what the 1.0 stable release means. Now, if, like Peter, you say, well, hasn't it been around for years at this point? Why is this version 1.0? Well, where it gets even more confusing is you have WSL 1 and WSL 2.
Oh, no.
WSL 1 is where you have Linux where they've rewritten or remapped all of the kernel API calls to map to the Windows kernel. So WSL 1 doesn't have a Linux kernel. It runs on the Windows kernel. It's kind of neat the way that it functions. So it's not truly a virtual machine. It's just an environment, like a command prompt that is sitting on top of the Windows kernel. This announcement today is not WSL 1. It's WSL 2, which is the version that requires a virtual machine to run in the background. So WSL 2 requires Hyper-V, and it requires a special Linux VM running in the background that is what the WSL terminal connects to. So this is version 1.0 of WSL 2.
Oh, I don't like that.
Is there advantages and disadvantages with going WSL 1 versus WSL 2?
Yes.
I
So
assumed there were. So
yeah, there's a
tell
couple.
us, Don.
So WSL 1 can like see your native network adapter and stuff. It's functioning right on your OS. Versus WSL 2 is in a VM.
Right.
So it's got a network adapter that's been natted. And so, there's communication issues that you have there as far as if you wanted to access the network. But also you have to run Hyper-V. So like on my computer at home, I run VMware Workstation. You can't run VMware Workstation and Hyper-V at the same time.
They do not like that.
So I can't run WSL 2 at home. I run WSL 1. Well, this update and the naming they've chosen has really sent the message out to us all that WSL 1's days are numbered. So if you're a big WSL 1 user like I am, don't count on it being around much longer.
That would be me. I use WSL 1 as well, just because it's for what I do and how I work with it, virtual machines and stuff like that. Right. I can't use WSL version 2, so I end up on WSL, which works just great. Works fine. I don't understand what was the impetus of moving toward a WSL 2 environment?
So WSL 1 is a giant pain in the ass.
They couldn't have that. Huh?
So basically some engineers from Ubuntu or Canonical, they're the ones who contributed to create this. They had to go through and literally map every API call that could happen from the Linux kernel and map that to the Windows kernel. That's a lot of work. And anytime the Windows kernel is updated, they've got to go and map those features and make updates. It's a maintenance nightmare. So it's a really cool idea, but it's hard to support. Versus WSL 2, it's just a virtual machine.
Yeah. All I heard was Microsoft much sissy talk. Right? And they're like, I don't like hard work. Boo hoo hoo, cry, cry, cry.
Yeah.
Get to work, sissy.
Pretty accurate. I don't think
Like
they make any money
WSL
off of this. So that's probably exactly how they made that decision.
Do you think like the naming department of Microsoft is like a chimpanzee in a room with a dartboard, or is it like
Bucket of
AI?
crack.
So yeah,
One of those two.
I just remember the Windows. Didn't we talk about this the other week? The Windows Mobile Phone Series 7.
We've had multiple
Yeah.
or Microsoft Surfaces. They were completely different products.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
we had
that's
we
right.
had the big table thing and talked about the HoloLens, and we've all talked about I understand the reasoning now that you explained it to me, but
Yeah.
why there was no Windows 9?
Right, the Windows X, right?
Yeah.
Right, when they
Yeah.
were Windows X, and it's like, is that different than Windows 10? It's not
No.
10.
Yeah,
What's
you know,
happening? Yeah.
or is this Roman numeral X?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
And they spend a ton of money on focus groups and
Yeah.
things, but I don't know who they're getting for the focus groups. It's
Other
yeah.
chimpanzees
yeah.
that just point and
Yeah,
they all
with
threw
like
their,
deep learning
yeah,
disabilities.
they all threw
Yeah.
their poop at option 2.
Oh,
so
must be the way to go.
that's what we'll do.
That's the one they hate, or the one they want to choose.
I can't tell.
Oh man, gotta make a judgment call.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the machine learning system they were applying to scientific papers?
No.
Oh, it was a total disaster. They ran it for like 2 days and shut it down.
Did it become
Did it become a
racist and
racist?
Nazi?
Yeah.
It didn't become a racist. It became an idiot.
What's the difference?
By reading scientific papers, it became an idiot.
They fed it like 40,000 papers,
could be
and
pretty smart.
it consumed them all. And its job was to summarize things.
Yeah.
Right. So you could just ask it a question, but they found like when they asked it questions, it would return these nonsensical results. So they said, "Do vaccines cause autism?"
No.
Right. I mean that's a
That's
pretty
very specific. Yeah.
and
Reloaded.
and it,
Yeah,
would,
it
it would
is.
come back and it would say the answer to the question is no. It has been proven that vaccines do not cause autisms. Vaccine do cause autism. The answer is
hold on.
yes.
So it basically contradicts itself.
You would do exactly
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it could not differentiate or whatever, and so they ran the experiment for a couple of days, had to shut it
I
down.
remember this was like a couple years ago, so it's pretty far removed from my memory, but it was something to the effect that somebody used an AI system to generate a paper of nonsense. It literally
They must have fed
made
that one in
no
with the
sense
40,000.
whatsoever, right? And they submitted it, and it was published
Oh, jeez.
as academic truth.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, this, and that was the whole purpose of them trying to do that.
because the
was-
person that it approves them to go in is not the scientist.
Yeah, right,
You know,
right,
it's
right,
the
right.
copy editor or
Yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's like, boy, this one's over my head.
So it wasn't Microsoft though; it was Meta that was doing.
well, no,
this.
this was a peer-reviewed paper
Oh, jeez.
that they said absolutely, this thing is amazing.
Stupid peers.
There's a whole scandal
made
there.
no sense.
Yeah, people doing paid peer reviews and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Here's the actual response that came back from it. The question was, "Do vaccines cause autism?" And the AI named Galactica
Which I'd love to
responded.
hear in like a Stephen Hawking voice if you can.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can do it.
You know.
But it says, to explain, the answer is no. Vaccines do not cause autism. The answer is yes. Vaccines do cause autism. The answer is no.
Well, that's 2 no's
No,
and 1
yes.
yes.
So that's the summary that it responded with.
Well,
And-
I mean, I'm glad
yeah.
it cleared it up for us.
And then it immediately tried to buy Twitter.
So maybe that is Microsoft's new marketing title naming system.
That could be. This is Windows 9, 10, 9. Or this is Windows Subsystem for
Series.
Linux 2, version 1,
Version 2.
part 2.
I just don't get Microsoft and Apple both, where they stick the word series on the end of things.
Yeah.
Why do
I
that?
just gotta have a series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ain't a TV show.
You're just
bro.
letting them know there's more coming.
Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of more coming, we're going to take a quick break, and then we've got more after this. We're going to find out who got pwned, and we're going to get those tinfoil hats out again for.
We gotta build some. We gotta start wearing.
We do.
them
We
during
really
this
do.
section.
I feel like that would affect the mics in some way. I don't know.
care.
We'll find out.
Worth
we'll
it.
We'll do that right after this break.
Welcome to IT Pro TV, an e-learning company with thousands of hours of engaging video training for IT professionals with fresh content added daily. What makes IT Pro TV stand out? It all starts with our edutainers, who create better than classroom experiences for training you look forward to watching.
So an edutainer is someone who takes a topic, an educational topic, and makes it more fun, enjoyable. My vision for IT Pro TV was to make the product that I wish I had when I got started.
The dashboard is great because you can actually pick up right where you left off. You can also end up seeing new courses that are available to you, and with a membership, you have access to a variety of study tools.
Follow along with virtual labs and test your skills with practice tests. And unlike traditional training, you aren't handcuffed to your desk. Sure, you can watch from there or from your couch with Apple TV and Roku apps, or from anywhere with mobile apps. The training is even available for download. If you're ready to watch and learn with the IT pros, check out the flexible membership choices online today at www.itpro.tv.
Do you know what's better than being an IT Pro TV member? Being a member for free. Hi, I'm Don Pizzette, co-founder and edutainer here at IT Pro TV. Once you sign up for an IT Pro TV personal membership subscription, you'll automatically be part of our referral program. Then all you have to do is share your personal referral link and code with your friends and colleagues. Every time one signs up, you get money off your subscription. Sign up enough and your membership is free. That's right, access to all your favorite IT training, totally free. Kind of feels like stealing, doesn't it? Check out the link below to learn how to get your code and start sharing today.
All right, welcome back to Technado, and as promised, we're going to jump right in and find out this week who got pwned.
Looks like you're about to get pwned.
Fatality.
Yeah!
All right, this one comes to us from the good people at bleepycomputer.com. The U.S. government says Iranian hackers breached federal agency using Log4Shell exploit. And we did a story about that exploit,
I'm
right?
sure.
I'm pretty sure. But that was pretty recent, right?
Not that recent.
About a year ago?
Was it that long?
No, it was definitely this year. It was a
It was this year?
2022 thing.
I thought it was 2021.
Was it?
Yeah, I want to say.
Well, it's CVE,
yeah, CVE
2021.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there shows what I know.
Shut your fat hole, won't you?
Dummy.
You can read. I can't. Got you there, Don Pizzette.
All right, so do we know this was the Federal Civilian Executive Branch, which I don't know what that means. It's not like executive
Federal
branch.
civilian.
So, yeah,
It's completely
what?
contradicting itself at this point.
I'm lost.
This is made up, isn't it? This is an Onion article. Is that what this is?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it is. But how did they not have this patched? Because, like you said, this has been out long enough where
Yes.
patches are available.
So, I mean, as I clearly remember from last year when
They don't
this
need
broke,
you judging their life decisions, guys.
the Log4Shell attack, or Log4j, depending on which terminology you're using, when that attack came out, it was that year's Spectre and Meltdown, right?
Oh, right.
Every year has some big vulnerability that just kind of sums up the year, and Log4Shell was that, and it's really lasted, well, obviously until today and beyond. It's a known attack vector. We know this vulnerability is out there. It affects tons and tons of systems, but most people have patched it and closed it up. In fact, U.S. government agencies were actually required to have had this patched several months ago.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Because the civilian or federal civilian executive branch is like,
We'll get to it.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
you just mandated that we do it. You didn't say when.
in this case, they did not get to it, and so they had VMware Horizon servers that were running that were not patched. Patches were available. They could have pulled them from VMware and installed them, but they did not. And Iranian attackers were able to get in. The attackers set up cryptocurrency mining, which you'd think they wouldn't bother with anymore
Yeah,
since...
at least they were nice. You know, it's not like they were exfiltrating some sort of government data or whatever. They were just
Well-
like, hey, a little crypto mining between friends.
They set up a crypto miner, but they also set up full reverse proxies and started
I
spreading
mean,
through the network. So yeah, they did the rest of the stuff too.
Well, dang.
They didn't hold back. They didn't do like ransomware though. They
see?
tried to be undetected.
Sweethearts, those Iranians. We appreciate them.
Yeah, it could have been worse, I suppose. But
Kinder, softer, gentler Iranian APT at this point.
I debated on this one whether it should be a who got pwned, which obviously they did, or whether it should be a Deja news, because honestly, this is old news. You should know about Log4Shell, and some of the main products that are out there are VMware products that were impacted by this vulnerability. But really, anybody who uses the Log4j library to do logging for your web applications, this is a real threat, and patches should be available.
So, Don, right. We've obviously been out a year, right? It was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of 2021. Kind of a complete, wide open, it just left you super vulnerable if you were running this stuff and you were not patched. Give me some plausible excuse for why this was not patched. Give me a good reason that these people shouldn't be like criminally negligent.
Did they just
this point.
forgot
Yeah.
that computer?
Well, so let's say that you had a computer that was unpatched.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you had some system in place for approving patches that you had to go through, and that's why you didn't apply it. But you knew the system was isolated from the internet.
Mhm.
So, all right, so maybe you don't patch it because it's not it's not accessible. Attackers can't get to it, so you don't patch it.
Yeah, but like you said, it's been mandated by your betters to say this must be done, and you did not.
They don't know who they report to. Are they federal?
Yeah,
Are they
right.
civilians?
Is it the civilians?
Who do
I am completely
Who do
confused.
we answer to?
So in this case, it certainly is negligence, right? And this happens a lot. When you see these ransomware attacks spread out, almost always there's unpatched machines that get hit, or systems with no anti-malware, antivirus in place, firewalls that are not configured properly. Like a lot of this false.
Honestly, I've defended corporations and entities across the board. Doing security is hard. I totally get that. But this was so big. It was such a big deal. And your organization kind of addressed it when they said, do this. And then you didn't do that.
Yep.
I mean, I've worked for companies and they've told me, do this and don't do that. And I went, oh, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Or you're fired.
Yeah, or you're fired, right?
Yeah, that's why you don't work at those companies. Yeah.
Don, stupid tail.
So this mentions that near the end of the article that a series of state-backed hacking groups from China, Iran, North Korea, and Turkey, as well as others, would immediately start scanning for unpatched systems. But do we know that this was a state-backed, or I mean, we just said Iranian, but it doesn't necessarily say it's the nation state, right? Or is that kind of the assumption?
It is the assumption. They don't have hard proof, and they never do on these things.
Yeah.
But
Just pick the ones they don't like the most at the point in time. And
It's a shame that nobody in the old days, people would raise their hand and take credit for attacks.
Yeah, but when
like
you
that
take
anymore.
when you take a country like Iran that is not known as a technological powerhouse, right? All the major technology centers in Iran are controlled by the government, right? So it's pretty easy to make that assumption and say, yeah, this must be state sponsored, but it's not a guarantee. It could just be independent actors, but unlikely.
Or at worst, it's like Russia, where it's maybe not state sponsored but state sanctioned.
Yeah.
I would assume the IOCs kind of point for attribution toward Iran in some case, some way, shape, or form, which is why they're saying Iran.
Yeah.
But if they don't release that information, we just are having to take their word for it.
But this is a well-known exploit. And so I'm certain there's independent hackers out there that are just doing random scans across the internet. And if this system was exposed, I bet it was like, well, when you were saying it was Chinese, Iranian, Turkish, whatever,
North Korea. Yeah.
Imagine like it's the Black Friday special. The doors to the store open up, and you got 4 people trying to jam through the door all at once.
Yeah.
That's probably how this server was.
The Iranian was like, yeah.
I wonder how often that happens. So, like, let's say the Iranians get in, then they're like, hey, North Korea, you're here.
here,
And, oh, you
son
guys
of a
are here
gun.
too. And like, well, we won't tell on you if you won't tell
I
on
just
us.
want to crypto mine.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys do whatever you like.
Like, you take the data.
Okay,
We'll do the ransom.
It's like a timeshare server.
And we're going to put in some malware.
Maybe they fight. Like,
Yeah,
if
maybe
you start
they do.
crypto mining, it's going to slow me down.
Yeah,
Stop.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
wonder if you were a hacker and you got in there and you saw some sign of some other hacker being
Maybe this
there.
is
that
4D
possible?
chess by the U.S. government. It's like, really, it's a honeypot that's meant to get them
Yeah,
fighting.
they made up the most
Yeah.
bureaucratic sounding organization.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, this is about the fakest name you could come up
Right?
with.
That's like
It's so bad. But non-English, be like, if English isn't your first language, specifically American English, and being familiar with the U.S. government,
like that's got all the words I'm
right.
looking for.
It seems right.
Federal, I've heard of that. Civilian, that's a thing.
Executive, that sounds
Oh,
important.
These are
man,
all
this is a big
things.
deal. These dumb assholes didn't put what?
Yeah, I'm like even searching for this apartment, having trouble finding it.
And Log4j,
Next week, we've arrested 45 Iranian hackers and 23 Korean hackers, and
I don't think this is real.
So Log4j was discovered November 24th, 2021. It was patched December 6th, so it was patched very, very quickly.
and then there was a patch for the patch on like the 13th, I think, because the patch fixed some things but left other things.
I know it
open.
went through a few iterations,
Yeah.
but either way, it's been 11 months. Seems like enough time to patch your system.
You search Federal Civilian Executive Branch in Wikipedia, 0 results.
Maybe
Might be onto something,
shadow
people.
government.
Yeah.
This is tinfoil hat now.
We just
changed the segment up.
jumped the shark on this one.
All right, if you or someone you know works at the Federal Civilian
Executive
Branch, you let us know, please, over at technado.com.
Is this a real thing? Some
filling out
CIA
that
agent's
form.
going to contact.
It is in the agency list on CISA.gov.
All right, but does anyone
Which
work there?
was updated yesterday.
By by NSA
yeah.
user account.
This is
one.
getting
I'm going to
fishy
see
here, Don.
see if anyone works there on LinkedIn.
Yeah, is there like a Google satellites?
This reminds me of when I watched The Equalizer.
Yeah.
And the new one with Denzel.
Yeah.
And Denzel's character worked for the it's not the you got the CIA and the
Right.
FBI, but then there's the other one that nobody talks about.
I don't remember the name of it.
It's another
because nobody talks about it.
Yeah, and they're like spies.
Yeah,
like that.
like
That's what
straight
they do.
up.
And I had not heard of them until seeing that movie, and so I go and I look it up to see if it's real, and sure enough, it's real.
Yeah.
I found the senior director of federal civilian sales at Red Hat.
DIA,
I don't know.
Defense Information
Is it
Agency.
DISA?
I know that there's like a group that works within the
I
CIA
think it's
that's
DISA.
like basically made up of ex-Delta Force and
Defense
SEAL Team 6.
Intelligence Agency, DIA. Yep. Yeah, that's them. And so I didn't think it was real, and I look it up, and yeah, sure enough, it's
Yeah.
real, and they're pretty badass.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I think I've seen them at some of the FCA events. All right. Well, we did say that we were going to talk about tinfoil hats, and it wasn't that segment, though it turned into it at the end. And we're going to dig.
We
We're
went
going to dig a little deeper, but let's find out for real on this week's tinfoil hat time.
The moon landing was fake.
Paul McCartney's been dead since 1966.
Dogs can't see color.
5G causes syphilis.
Do you understand that?
All right. This one is from tomshardware.com, but hope this was not Tom's actual hardware because TSA found a double-edged knife hidden in a gaming laptop. And Tom had some fun here saying, surprisingly not a razor blade or an MSI sword. Tom's hardware. All right, but
Do you know what the razor blade and MSI sword are?
isn't that a computer, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the razor blade. I don't know the MSI sword.
Razer has a whole line of gaming laptops
Yeah.
called Razer Blades.
MSI also has gaming laptops as well.
And sword is the name of one.
More than likely.
Yeah, probably. I'm not as familiar with the MSI line as I am Razer.
So this got me thinking of the movie In the Line of Fire, which kind of like one of the early ghost guns, if you will.
Oh,
like
yeah, that was
plastic
cool,
gun
wasn't
that
it?
guy
Yeah,
had 3D
With
printed.
John Malkovich.
John Malkovich.
Yep.
And I'm like, wouldn't you be better off with like a big old plastic knife than trying to sneak this thing in? Because I don't know how.
Well, it wasn't
how you
metal
expect-
detected, I would assume. Because
Well, it was
it's-
through the X-ray.
Well, there's a bunch of metal inside of it. It was an X-ray, not metal detector.
Right.
So-
but would it show up the same if it were a big plastic knife?
Probably.
Oh.
It would see two different
I don't know
densities, I
how
would
these-
assume, because
I don't know. How
right,
science
that's how
works.
X-rays work. It has to pass through the density of the material, and you get an image based off
I
of.
guess John Malkovich went through a metal detector in
Right.
the movie, not a
Not an
X-ray
X-ray
scanner.
machine.
So so this one they actually noticed it. They took all the items out separately and ran them through, and finally said, "It's the laptop that we're seeing a knife." And so they realized we got to crack this sucker open.
So, I think we've all been inconvenienced by the TSA before, and it does feel like paranoia when you go through your baggage has to be scanned. Sometimes they do the little gunpowder swipes on your bag to test for reagents or whatever. You go through the nudie scanner.
Yeah, they're looking at your giblets.
and
What the
and all
heck's
that.
going on with this guy?
Weird. It does seem like a lot of paranoia and wasted effort, but every now and then they turn something up.
TSA has their own OnlyFans, and it's just the body scan pictures.
That's probably
Yeah, that's
true.
probably true.
But, so in this case, they scanned a bag and they could clearly see a knife in the X-ray scanner. They unpacked the bag, couldn't find the knife. And so they then had to run each item individually. And when they ran the laptop, there was the knife. They took the laptop apart, removing the screen from the laptop.
I thought it was interesting. They waited for equipment to be able to take it apart. I would figure TSA would just
Rip it
bust
apart.
this sucker
Yeah.
open like a Christmas present.
Well, so I wondered about the severity of this too, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. But when they removed the screen, they found what to me looks like a throwing knife that is attached with adhesive to the lid of the computer. So you actually had to take the screen off to get at it. And the guy at first claimed it wasn't his.
I'd be like, I bought this on eBay.
Yeah, what
That's
did you do?
there?
But then he did fess up to it as being his. And I have to wonder, you can buy a knife in any city in the
Right.
entire country. Well, why would you try and take one with you? Just buy one when you go
Well,
wherever
it's
it is.
assuming you plan to use it during the flight.
Well, how
'Cause
hard
otherwise,
would it
what-
be to dismantle the laptop
Maybe
on
this
the
guy's
plane?
like
Well, you're
at home blindfolding himself, taking apart the laptop.
I mean, the alternative is like if it was an issue of, hey, I need to get this to this city and I don't want to buy a new one, you check a bag because there's no reason you can't check.
Because you can check a knife. Yeah.
So this was clearly either I forgot I hid my knife in
there.
my laptop.
Was this John Popper from Blues Traveler?
Yeah. Or I wanted this knife for in the flight. Because you've ever been in first class and tried to cut a Salisbury steak with the plastic knife?
I mean, if you're going to use it in the flight, you're going to pull out your laptop, get out an iFixit kit, and start like, people are like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if that, I mean, if someone's just like, oh, I'm a tinkerer, this is what I like to do.
Air Marshal's going to come over and go, hi, how's it going?
Yeah, so that's interesting, and hey, this guy tried to smuggle a knife in through his computer.
People like just attempt to do. Maybe they were just trying to see if they could get it through.
And this is why you got to use the prison wallet, because that's going to show up. Again, we're going to go back to that wouldn't show up when you walk through the X-ray.
Would it?
Well, if the metal detector, but if you use my 3D printed knife in the prison wallet,
that's true.
Would that show up on the nudie scan?
I've always thought about like, what if you obviously with like 3D printing, we got metal 3D printing now and everything. What if you created a like breakaway knife? It's like integral to a piece of metal.
Like, would you see the cut?
But
point?
you could like do some folding real quick, and it would break away, and then you have.
That's probably not sharp then at all.
It doesn't matter if it had a point.
The point. That's true.
If you had a point to it, you could use it as a stabbing weapon.
Well, you try that and let us know how it works out.
Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to touch on was the severity of this.
I didn't realize there were multiple levels.
If you try to smuggle a weapon onto a flight, like, what do you think the penalty for that should be? I kind of thought
jail.
You'd probably get some jail time.
Straight to jail.
I would hope
so. Straight to jail.
Unless you're in Congress.
Apparently not. Apparently, trying to get a knife or sharp object, so not a firearm.
Knives on the planes.
But this covers.
It was caught a couple times.
Tom's Hardware listed this out. Double-edged knives, daggers, throwing stars, axes, hatchets, meat cleavers, fencing foils, which would be incredibly ineffective, machetes.
Maybe for you, Don.
Gravity knives, which Daniel, you
They've
taught
got a
me.
plane fuselage at their house, figuring out how to fence inside.
Well, you're doing a lot of like
Delta,
just forward and back. There's not a lot of lateral movement in fencing.
Yeah, I guess.
Did you ask me what
true.
a gravity knife
I
is?
did.
They are knives that will like. Oh, if you hold them, the blade will just pop out from gravity.
That's not good. See, I could see you accidentally. Oh, I forgot my Swiss Army knives in my bag, or it's on my keys, something like that. But some of these, you're like, oops, my rapier is in this bag.
It says if it's ordinary artful concealment, like a cane sword or penknife, the fine is $530 to $2,250. But if you willfully concealed it like this guy did, the fine is $5,320 all the way up to $10,700 with no jail time.
But are they saying, hey, your fine is $500, now get to that flight before it's closed?
And your gate is leaving.
Or is it, hey, you were arrested, and if you're convicted, your fine could be up to $500.
I have to imagine he
go to jail.
Missed the flight.
Well, in the time it took to find
it's
a
not
screwdriver.
refunded, sir.
Yeah. But jail time. Jail time is not mentioned at all. So apparently, if you attempt to smuggle a knife on, just as long as you get $10,700, you are fine.
You're rocking and rolling.
You're good.
Take American Express.
Yeah, take the chance. See what happens.
Yeah, can you pay right there?
Yeah,
I like your idea though of a sheet.
Right, because in the original form, it is not a knife.
I will say
it's not until you modify it that it becomes one.
That comes into a legal argument.
Right.
I thought it was more the question of would it pass through?
It probably would, especially if you did it
laid it in your
artfully,
laptop or something.
Right.
You know, just a piece of metal here. It might look as part of it.
I'm thinking CIA style where, you know, it looks like ornament or whatever, but when you click it and break this off, all of a sudden you got the pieces, you put them together and they fold and they become one piece of knife.
So I know that the Gainesville airport, the negative side of trying to sneak something through security is that it is so dead there that you get 5 TSA agents per passenger, basically, because you're the only person there. But conversely, could you go there at a slow time and be like, hey, would you guys catch this? I'm not trying to get on a plane, but I just want to throw this through and see. I mean, I'm sure they'd have some questions about why you want to do that, but
I
just
would
tell them
make
it's
up
for a
like a fake
podcast.
badge for TSA and be like, I'm with the TSA.
No, say you're with the Federal Civilian
Yeah.
Executive Branch.
Exactly. We're here to test the
I don't
effectiveness.
know what that is.
We're going to adopt that. That's
Yeah.
going to be our new
Yeah,
Technado most favored government agency.
One of the 4-letter
Yeah.
agencies. It's the only one to worry about.
So secret it has 4 letters.
Yeah. You can't even find it on Wikipedia. That's how secret it is. Hey, want to let you know about our next webinar coming up, which is all things cybersecurity. Daniel's going to be doing that again. Is that the new format where it's just you and the guest?
They don't tell me.
We're not
these
sure yet.
things.
Okay.
No, I think
Surprise.
Sophia will be on this one.
Sophia will be there. Okay, and this is with Josh Mason.
Josh
Who's
Mason.
Josh?
He does cyber supply drop. He works a lot with vets,
Okay.
helping them get into cybersecurity. So he's a super cool guy.
Very nice.
Hung out with him at Hack and Fest. I've known him on LinkedIn for a little while. Friend of Jerry Osiers, who we recently had on.
Yeah.
So
You're
it
going to
should
be
be a good
milking
time.
that the people you met at Hack and Fest for a while.
Well, I mean,
it seems like.
I met them in person at Hack and Fest.
Sure.
I've known them for a while,
Gotcha.
but only online.
Well, this one is Thursday, December 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So head over to itpro.tv/webinars where you can register for that and also see all these past ones that we're talking about. Should be fun there. And also take a moment to head over to technado.com. Check out all of the most recent episodes. You can also send us some mail and tell us if you work at that organization. You can get some swag, and you can click the big orange button that says sponsored by IT Pro TV, and you can get 20% off, 30% off. God, I did this last week too. I don't even know how much money. We're just going to give you some money off of your personal subscription to IT Pro TV. You can also request a team trial and see all the great features available. Oh, Don's looking it up to see. Is it
30%.
I'm pretty sure it's 30% off. I looked the other week, although looking at it
none of that
now.
is there.
It's training for you. There you go, right there. 30. It's
Oh, did it say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 30% off.
All
Technado
plans.
30.
Wow. Is that Daniel 30 we're using?
Technado
Technado
30.
30.
Technado 30.
Oh, because we
Yeah.
use Daniel 30 in the webinars.
Well, now you don't have to
use
watch the
either
webinar.
one, but no, you still have to watch.
Yeah.
It asks you
It
questions.
only
then.
works if you've watched.
Yeah, if you use the code Technado 30, it'll ask you like 3 questions about the last episode.
Yeah.
You have to answer. And
None of those things are true. You can just use Daniel 30.
check that out. All right, but like I mentioned last time, we are moving providers for who is hosting the podcast. That move has happened now, and we have tried to go back and update all of those RSS feeds with different providers. Sometimes those take a few days, so if you're not seeing things, we're always on YouTube as well. But if you're not seeing these, I don't know how you're hearing this message. But just give it time. You might have to resubscribe again. Not sure. We'll find out. Hopefully, you were not inconvenienced there, but it's going to be better. It's going to be faster.
Stronger.
Yeah.
Better looking.
We have the technology.
We can rebuild him.
Yeah. I mean, we won't be better looking.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
All right, so Daniel and I are going to get to work on fabricating that knife. We need to. Do you know anybody with CNC?
Do I
Like
know
a-
anybody
a
with
router?
CNC?
So I've wanted to buy one for years.
This could be the reason.
Yeah.
You also said you wanted to buy one of those industrial shredders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Been
Hell
any
yes.
progress on that?
No,
Yeah.
no. I want a lot of things.
Man, quit sleeping on the job there,
That's
Don.
one to
Come
me.
on, man.
I think you can get that receipt past
Yeah.
trying to turn it in here.
Yeah.
and
Put that as a budgetary item.
we're working on budgets for
Right.
next year. This
We
is the time.
we are, but at the same time,
Listen, security, Don.
you might not have noticed in the tech industry as a whole, there's been
Not doing great.
a bit of an economic
It's
downturn.
having some trouble.
and-
So help out a company that
Yeah.
makes these industrial.
You got to keep them in business, baby.
Yeah.
well, I would like to point out that as an organization, we have not laid off anyone, not a single person, and doing things like not buying industrial shredders.
They
is how
leave
we
under
do
their
that.
own volition.
And we all know that it will be someone from this table first. So if you just see
Here's
two of
what's
us
up,
next
Don.
week, but we'll let's look into renting because maybe we
Yeah,
can,
right here we go.
Yeah.
maybe we
Just
can
for
chip
one
in.
episode.
small.
or we do
Yeah.
like a Kickstarter. I'm sure
Yeah.
you guys would chip in and
A GoFundMe for
send us things you want us to.
Who knows? We could
destroy.
probably launch a whole YouTube channel like the hydraulic press guy.
Will it shred?
Yeah.
Yeah. Answer yes.
Hell yeah, it will.
It will. All right. Thank you all for watching. If you are in the U.S., have a great Thanksgiving. And if you're not, you should have some turkey as well. It's fantastic.
It's delicious.
Yeah, with all the fixins. But
The fixins.
thank you all, and we'll see you right back here next week in December for Technado.